Hello everyone and welcome to another game I played on PTCGO. For this match I'm going to be trying a revamped Donphan deck. So originally I wanted to try out the Night March deck, but I kept on running into decks that run Substitute, or Robo Substitute to be more specific, and that card is very damaging to that type of deck. Since Robo Substitute gets put up, you knock it out, and you're quite vulnerable to return knockout. So here I'm starting off with Hawlucha, and my opponent is going to put up a Sigilyph, have a Phantump on the bench, and a Robo Substitute of his own. So he's probably running a Gengar deck, so I'm a little bit afraid of that since we're both using very similar strategies. I'm going to use a Korrina here, bringing out a Phanpy since I kind of need that, and I'm sort of debating here whether or not to go for Robo Substitute or a Muscle Band to increase damage. So here I think the better play is for a Muscle Band, and I'm going to get that. So I'm going to play down that Phanpy I just got, attaching a Muscle Band to it, play down a Fighting Stadium, and then just end my turn. So I think I could play this Ultra Ball as well, but I actually do end up doing just that. I do get rid of a Versus Seeker, which is another useful card here. And I'm going to get another Phanpy to bench that to have two set up. And then I'll attach a Fighting Energy, and now I'll end my turn. So the goal of this deck is to use Spinning Turn with Donphan and then switch into a Robo Substitute so your opponent can knock it out, but he or she will not take a prize. So my opponent is going to Evo Soda into Trevenant. So that's a little bit annoying, and then he'll play a Pokemon Fan Club and get two basics onto his bench. So my opponent's strategy will be to play Gengar EX, and he just does, and also gets a Skrelp. Put into the active, attack with it, and then swap into either Trevenant or a Robo Substitute. One will keep an item lock, and the other will just prevent you from taking a prize. So here I'm going to evolve into Donphan and then bench a Landorus EX. I just play that for the extra firepower if need be. And I'm going to hit with Spinning Turn for 60, thanks to the Fighting Stadium, and swap into Hawlucha since it has free retreat. So my opponent is going to knock out my Fighting Stadium with his Rearbank City Gym, attach a Psychic Energy onto Gengar, then we see him Juniper his hand away. Looks like he got rid of an N in the process. So here my opponent wants to power up those Gengar, or that Gengar on the bench, and we see him play a Mewtwo and just end his turn. So Sigilyph is stuck in the active, just going to absorb damage and get knocked out potentially. So I'm going to retreat into Donphan and Spinning Turn, and Sigilyph goes down, and I take my first prize. My opponent now sends up Trevenant. This has a Floatstone attached to it, and now thanks to Trevenant, all of my items are useless to me. That's sort of why I got rid of that VS Seeker in the beginning, since I saw Trevenant. It's kind of scary. So we see my opponent play a Skrelp and then evolve into Dragalge. A Juniper gets played along with a Hypnotoxic Laser. Unfortunately, I do end up asleep thanks to that coin flip. I'm just hoping that I'll wake up. And it looks like I'm going to remain asleep, unfortunately. And going into my turn, I draw a DCE, so not too good there. I will attach it to Donphan and just end my turn. So I stay asleep once again in between turns. Not that it much matters anymore. That Hawlucha is long gone. And my opponent here should probably just power up Gengar and then attack with it, although he could take the knockout with Mewtwo if he wanted to. And here I just check my discard pile. My opponent's taking a little bit here to decide. So what can end up happening with our decks being matched up with similar strategies is that we end up trading no prize turns repeatedly thanks to Robo Substitute. So my opponent is going to send up Gengar and then use Lysander to bring up Donphan. So he'll be able to Dark Corridor, which will poison me and allow him to switch into either Trevenant or Robo substitute if he wanted to, although I don't see why he would go for anything else. So he's going to computer search for the DCE and then play down another Squelp and do exactly what I explained earlier. And it looks like he goes for Robo substitute, so I won't be able to take a prize if I knock it out. So Robo substitute is pretty much a reprint of Pokédoll from base set, but it has 30 HP instead of 10. Here I'm going to Juniper my hand away, evolve into Donphan, bench a Hawlucha, and play down a Fighting Stadium. So I don't want him to add damage due to poison, and this will give me extra firepower. And here I'm just going to spinning turn, so I'll get rid of his Robo substitute. I just send up Hawlucha. I do choose the damaged one, just because I know Gengar's first attack can attack anything on the field, so it doesn't really matter where Hawlucha is, he can choose to knock it out. My opponent evolves a second Squelp into Dragalge and is going to use a Skyla. And we'll see what he is fishing for in his deck. That looks like another Veerbank City gem, so that's a bit annoying. But here it's not really consequential. I'll lose Hawlucha anyway. And he's going to send up a Trevenant. I will send up my Donphan. So I do have another Hawlucha to bench. And here I'm just going to play an N, bring us both to 5 cards. And I do manage to get here a Strong Energy, which is what I needed to attack with Donphan's second attack, which is Wreck, which will do 80 plus 60 more if there is a Stadium in play, and I do end up doing more damage thanks to that Strong Energy. And my prize is another Strong Energy, so my opponent is going to send up Gengar, and here get the knockout most likely. So we see him play a Fan Club, but end up getting nothing. But he does bench another Phantump, and attaches a Mystery Energy, it looks like, to Mewtwo, and then is going to hit me for the knockout. This time he sends up Dragalge. I think he realizes that he can afford to lose one of those two guys that he has in play. I will send up my second Donphan and bench here my Robo substitute, since I can finally start playing those guys. And here I'm debating what to do. I want to attach that Strong Energy, but I don't know if I should use the Lysander first to bring up Gengar, since that's what he's been attacking with. So I'm going to do just that and attach that Strong Energy, play down the second Robo substitute, and I'm going to use Spinning Turn. It unfortunately only does 40 damage due to resistance, and I will bring up my Robo substitute. I hope here he goes for the knockout on it, but we do see a second Gengar come into play on the bench, and a DCE gets attached to it. So now I'm going to attach a Strong Energy onto my Donphan and just discard my active Robo substitute, bring up Donphan, and now I can attack. I will first bench that Robo substitute and use Juniper. Here, get a few useful things here, namely the escape rope in case my opponent wants to avoid me attacking the Gengars or the Mewtwo's. I could potentially do that, since I only play one Lysander, but I do have VS Seeker there to get it back. So here I'm debating whether or not to use Spinning Turn or Wreck. Wreck does more damage, but it leaves Donphan vulnerable, and it's the only attacker I currently have. Because of this, I'm going to use Spinning Turn and just go into a sub. Now my opponent can hopefully choose to knock out this sub and allow me to attack with Donphan for the knockout. But we'll see if that's his strategy here. It looks like he actually plays Floatstone. And an N gets played, bringing us both to 4 cards. Another Psychic Energy goes on to a benched Gengar, or a first Psychic Energy. He actually had DCE on it. And he's going to use its first attack to snipe my benched Donphan. Here I can actually play Karina and my Muscle Band, so I will attach that Muscle Band onto my benched Donphan and play Karina here. I can use that to bring up another Donphan, since I have a Phanpy in my hand, and just bring up an escape rope. So I will play escape rope here, hoping he'll send up something I can knock out, since this fresh Gengar can't be knocked out. He's going to send Dragalge, and I can knock this out actually with spinning turn. So that's quite good to get the knockout there. It hits for exactly 100, and I can retreat into Robo sub. So now I get a third prize, and it doesn't look all that good for my opponent. He's going to send up Gengar. I've been successfully denying him prizes, but he hasn't been all that successful in doing that to me. But he'll be able to snipe my Donphan once again using Gengar. This is his first attack. So here I can play another Karina and try my hand at getting my second escape rope that I play. Or I can just retreat, go into Donphan, and try my luck at that. I do that just because I wanted to get a second Donphan powered up, so I needed a bench of Phanpy, and I figured I'd get rid of that Robo sub. But I am going to try the Karina play. Hopefully I can get a second escape rope here. I will pull a Landorus just because I need to pull something, and before I can even search for the escape rope, my opponent decides to concede the match. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed.